Hey there, everybody. It's been a minute, and yeah, I've not maintained this channel as much as I would like. I'm gonna be doing some things with it, some interesting things. You'll see. You'll see. There should be some changes forthcoming. But we've been living here in Tucson for, well, exactly a year ago is when we decided to move here. And it's been a really interesting transition and, interesting times. But one of the very dangerous things is that I now live in the same city as all my favorite vinyl picking spots. And so it's been hard to use restraint, especially because like these shelves are filling up. Here's one of the other beautiful things. I'm gonna show you a whole bunch of records, but real quick, like very few people get as excited about this as I do, so I put this on this channel in hopes that people do. But like this guy, which is the 2252B that I purchased for like $150 in college, and then this guy, which is a 2265 that I got at a Goodwill for $6. For real, a 2265 for $6. I picked it up and I ran like I was trying to win the Heisman. Like, anyway. But both of those were having issues. And there's a place, Hi-Fi Workshop, good guys, excellent service, highly recommended. Total professionals. They know what they're doing. They will handle your baby. Because when you see the kind of other people's babies they have and the kind of stuff that they are selling in their storefront, you're like, oh, these guys know. Like, when I tell them I've got a 2265 and a 2252B, they know what that means. Like, so, anyway, but yeah. Functional. I wish I didn't have the blue lights on. Functional. Like, and with this little Dowk audio switcher, I could switch between speakers, HTD level 3s, old Polk towers that I just can't get rid of because they sound incredible. And I've tried other things, but I keep coming back to these because they sound great, especially with Marantz stuff. Anyway, very excited about my system. But let's talk records. I'm going to walk you through my pickups that I've had, and this is going back since we moved here, pretty much. Yeah, since we moved here. Anyway, so there's something that I've been collecting for a while. This first record, get it, get the glare out. This is my go-to, The Dentist's Charms and the Girl. This is actually from a series of records. I don't know if you could see that, but yeah, Hear No Evil. There's also a See No Evil and a Speak No Evil. The Dentists are very jangly C86-ish type of powery pop-ish band out of England, college rock-ish, kind of like REM if they were British, kind of a vibe. Anyway, but like this record is the record that I play anytime I have to set my vinyl setup again for the first time. Like, if I'm switching out turntables or switching up cabling in any way, shape, or form, anytime that I've like fidgeted with my system and made it even more complicated for anyone else to ever hope that they could figure out how to use it. Because that's how you know you've arrived, when you got a system so complicated other people look at it and go, why don't you turn it on? Like, yeah, that's when you know you've arrived. Anyway, but yeah, The Dentist. So I've had this record since college. I picked it out of the Zia Records 7-inch bin because it had an interesting cover and it was pressed by a local label. And I thought it was going to be a local band. It wasn't, but I never collected. I always meant to complete the series, and now I did, because I've got See No Evil, and I've got Speak No Evil. Oh, sorry about the glare, plastic sheeting on all of these, gotta protect the wrecked. Anyway, so yeah, that's the thing that I got. Other 7-inchers. So this is another thing that I have meant to collect since forever. Brian Bell, rhythm guitarist for Weezer, was in a band before he joined Weezer because Jason Cropper was the original Weezer guitarist. We all know this. Anyway, Jason Cropper of, I believe he was in Chopper One is the name of his band. Anyway, regardless. And Brian Bell was in a band called the Space Twins. And this is an early Space Twins single called TV, Music, and Candy. And just listen to this record. Oh my God, like, it is so charming. The title track of this record is one of the most charming songs I have ever heard. Like, just absolutely brilliant. And I've wanted it for forever, and it's never been expensive, and I finally just pulled the trigger. Because I love finding things in the wild, and I never was going to find it in the wild. But here's the thing, is that purchase, they were like, because it was under $10, so they were like, we won't ship to you unless you order at least $10 worth of records. And it's like, fair. So I went to that seller's page on Discogs, and I just grabbed some random cheap 7-inch singles that looked interesting. This one I have not listened to yet, but, Laptop, Gimme the Night. Like, come on. How could it not be good? It can only be good. This one I've actually listened to. This is Auto Pop, which sounds about like what you'd think. It's pretty good, actually. Yeah, girl vocals, fuzzed out guitars, strong melodies, hooky. Yeah, that's what you think. This one, Kubitschek Night Joy. Yeah, no idea what this is. But yeah, that was the thing. And here's the other funny thing, is that in order to complete another record purchase, I had to order more 7-inch records. And this one, they had a higher limit because they were coming out of Japan. And so I had to order more records so that they could, need to ship things internationally. It was not that expensive, really. This one is, I don't know, but I just love the candle burning at both ends in a block print. This is from a band called SBF. No idea, but the cover looked cool. The Neurotones, is that Neurotones? Yeah, the Neurotones. How you not gonna listen to a band called the Neurotones where they all wear suits? That just seems like a good idea. I don't know, but black and white cover that says "Gag Dad," Gag Dad. I don't know what it's gonna be. I have no idea what that's gonna be, but I couldn't not buy it. MFD, this screams a maximum of 9 minutes of angry punk on this record, 7 songs, total of 9 minutes. Anyway, yeah, this is Greenhorn, Conversations with Myself. It's got a cool motorcycle on the cover. Why not? This one, The Noisettes, because that's just a good band name. I mean, it just is. And last but not least, Adventures in Stereo, a band I already knew and have an album by. And they're really strong melodies, good female vocals, very Tiger Trap, Cub kind of a vibe, you know what I'm saying? Anyway, good stuff. All good stuff there. Now we come to the main event, ladies and gentlemen, the 12-inch type records. Yeah. And yeah, these two I got out of like bargainish bin, which I couldn't believe because the first one is Jacques Brel 4. Which like I would have preferred Jacques Brel 6 because it has my favorite Jacques Brel song on there, which is the Funeral Tango, which is covered excellently, absolutely excellently by oh crap, how can I forget his name? Because he's such an iconic, he's the dude. Anyway, I'll come back to it. Because yeah, he's a great American singer who passed away recently, who covered a lot of Jacques Brel. And like I knew that record because the guys in a record store where I used to hang out, one of the guys would play it because he knew the other guy hated Jacques Brel or hated the singer whose name I can't think of right now, and you're all screaming it at your screens. Yeah, anyway, this I found and I was like, oh, I'd never heard it before, but I was like, that's gonna be some hot Japanese jazz fusion. I could just tell looking at the record. Because it's Stomu Yamashita's go-to. And I bought it not knowing anything about it, but like you see this, you see that level of Japanese jazz jazz fusion confidence on the back cover. You're like, oh, that's going to be excellent. And it is. Track 2, the synth lines on there, like it's crazy. It's a really good record. And like funny thing about this is that Steve Winwood used to play with Stomu Yamashita, which I did not know. And yeah, just completely blind buy. It was $4. As was the Jacques Brel, and I was like, yoink, yoinkity yoink. I got both of those on the same day. Spent $8 on records and got 2 like bona fide winners. This next one, like, oh, I've fallen in love with this band. I have one of their other albums. This is the Exbats. Sometimes it'll say they're from Tucson. They're actually from Bisbee, which is like Tucson on psychedelics. Like, which Tucson is already kind of on psychedelics. So, yeah, Bisbee's crazy, but it's a father-daughter band, and they write these really like cheeky songs, like really intelligent, like garage-ish, indie-ish. It's awesome. It's good stuff. This I got because I was not able to ever find any, like I have been looking for original copies of any albums by The Move. If you don't know The Move was some like, hold up, I'll show you because there's a better way to show you. Hold up. I know it's a few back. Okay. There's The Move. And yeah, let's see. It's Roy Wood, and it's what's his name? Oh no. Roy Wood and come on, brain. You know, if you press on it, you're not gonna remember, and it's gonna drive me crazy. But like 2 of the greatest like underrated power pop stars of the 1970s who started out in the same band, and this album right here, Shazam, like, oh, This is one of the greatest power pop albums ever made, like ever. So good, so incredibly good. And if you don't know Roy Wood, like, because the other guy whose name is escaping me at the moment, and I don't know why my brain is not working very well right now. That is apologies. Like, maybe it will say on the record because I feel like it should. All these songs are by Roy Wood. I'm gonna have to pull it out. I'm gonna have to pull open the cover. I'm gonna have to look at it. I'm gonna read because it is not going to help if I do not remember. Oh, duh. It's Jeff Lynne. Electric Light Orchestra, Jeff Lynne. Whoa, a shame that I could not remember his name. But like, okay, and if you don't know your Roy Wood, then it's telling that, because he was a madman of like pop, power pop songwriting, like just a crazy monkey. And his music is like just always spiraling toward the edge of unhinged, but like smartly written and very like power popish. Anyway, The Move, pre-ELO Jeff Lynne, Roy Wood in the same band, plus two other guys. Two other guys. Yeah, by the way, I don't prep this stuff. This is just all off the top of my head, so as you can obviously tell. This one I gotta get a sleeve for. My goodness, why are you not sleeved? Come now. Oh, okay, we're gonna be okay. We're gonna be okay. It's gonna be all right, because this one is actually quite it's got cutouts. Those are actual cutouts, and then there are multiple records inside. Hard to read what this is because the font and the color, it's so hard to read. This is Mitski's new album. It's like, the woods looked awesome and so we went there, or something. I forget what it's called, but it's Mitski, and man, what a talent. Love this woman, love her music, and the new stuff, she went very like country folk. It's a revelation. So yeah, because apparently genre doesn't mean anything to her, and she can do whatever she wants. Okay, this one, some of you may already know what this is. Eric recommends, he says it's bloody brilliant. I've known that for a long time. I've always wanted an original pressing, but when I saw that this was a good, decent repress, that's, you know, only $25, which is, you know, I don't know. I don't like to spend too much on a single record, but like when it's one that I really, really love, and I know that people spend a ton more than that on records, but I will tell you, when records reach a certain price, because I buy them to play them, you know, I don't buy them to stick on the wall or anything. Like, I buy records because I love music, and I love records because, you know, people make all the high and mighty, like, oh, it sounds better, blah, 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 blah. Then we find out that, like, Mobile Fidelity Sound Labs is using digital masters to cut their high-end records that they charge way too much for. And it's like, dude, like, let's not all pee our pants and let's stop paying too much for records. Like, let's just accept that a lot of like teenagers bought records like this and then just, back when people were like, oh, is your record skipping? Put pennies on the stylus, which adds weight to the stylus and will keep your record from skipping, but it like grinds that groove in it. Just really, yeah, it's bad. Don't set your needle weight too high. But like, I don't know which of my vintage records had the needle, had someone stacking pennies on the tone arm. Like, I don't know. And you don't either. So like, let's all not get so high and mighty. But yeah, $25 is a lot to spend for me on a record that like is a repress. Like it just feels like, because there are good represses that I've found that are like $18. Speaking of which, this one right here. Say what you will. You can say whatever you like. I was punk in college. I was very into punk. I was listening to punk just today. I was really enjoying me some Anti-Flag because like, man, guy yelling into the microphone and he's like, I don't think that peace should be called a radical idea. They call us a radical band. We're not a radical band. Should not be radical to want peace. Should not be radical to want the truth. And I'm like, oh, angry young men with guitars. Like, please never stop. And like, it just... some of that hardcore stuff like gets my heart and like makes me happy that they exist. And I love going to those kind of shows, but like this is the poppy type punk. This is the like, hair dye and the baggy jeans with the wallet chain and the skateboard that you just bought but can't really use. Like, it's the hot topic punk, is kind of where, but like Millencolin predates that by quite a bit, actually, if all the way back to like Life on a Plate and stuff. But like Pennybridge Pioneers is a masterwork of pop punk. It really is. It like every song is a gem. It's so well written and such a great, like, I will be rocking out to this summer, like drinking margaritas, listening to Pennybridge Pioneers and thinking about the good old days. Like, yeah, I was made out with a girl because I knew this album. True story. So yeah, don't give me no bullcrap about like, it's pop punk. It's not really. Head, Hands, and Feet. I found this at a combination bicycle, musical instrument, and vinyl store. Yeah, you can buy a tuba, you can buy a vintage Schwinn, and you can buy records. It's the most Tucson store I've ever heard of in my life. And the sales staff for all of the things are like so knowledgeable in all of the things. I love it. Like, I love it. Anyway, I had the first Head, Hands, and Feet. This is your boy Alvin. Am I pointing the right one? Albert, not Alvin. Sorry. I know who's who. I know my Lees. Because there are many, Lee guitarists that are good. But yeah, Albert Lee, British dude, one of the best country and western guitar pickers there ever was. If you've ever heard the Brad Paisley songs, which I know Brad Paisley, but like Brad Paisley though, dude can play. And there is at least one song on every album where he's like, I'm gonna go grab a bunch of legends of the game and we're gonna get together and we're all gonna solo, on a country song. And he gets these old-timey guys talking in the background, or they're like, son, go get you a pencil and paper and learn to write down these names of guys that are great guitarists. And Albert Lee. Like, seriously, one of the greatest country pickers of all time. And Head, Hands, and Feet is a really good band. So, like, yeah, that's their second album. Their first album, self-titled, is like an orange album, says Heads, Hands, and Feet on the cover. Really good. The first Orville Peck album, I thought I already owned it. I didn't. I had to have it because this guy is the best thing going in country music right now. Hands down, no questions asked. And I'm telling you, like, this man, here's what we know about him. We know that he's been on Broadway. We know that he has danced ballet professionally. We know that he is a gay man. We know that he has the voice of a freaking angel because he sounds like classic era Marty Robbins, like that sort of high-pitched warbling, like, you know, El Paso, Streets of Laredo, like, you know, Gunfighter Ballads era Marty Robbins is what he sounds like. Beautiful, beautiful country voice. And yet, like, he's bringing his gayness into the country game, you know, and like, it needed to happen. Like, we needed a gay cowboy hero, and of course he has to wear a mask. So we don't know what he actually looks like. We might. I never want to know. Like, remember when we all liked Ghost? We still do, but not as much as we used to. Because we're like, what? The skeletal devil pope and his band of faceless minions are playing melodic metal. Yes, I want that album. Like, every song is satanic. In one of them, they just chant all of the many names of Satan in Latin. Yes, I want this album. You know, we all liked Ghost, and then like some of the members of the band were like, "Oh, the guy who started this band is an asshole," which he probably is. Like, but like once the masks came off, and we found out that the same guy was all the Papa Emerituses, which I kind of suspected because they're kind of sound the same. But like, once the masks came off, it wasn't fun anymore. So I never want to know who Orville Peck is, but I always want him to make music because he is incredible. And I love him. And I love that he has, like, unironically brought back the nudie suit. Ooh, awesome. Like, that's some Graham Parsons old school business. Anyway, yeah, this is a Stereolab album. Refried Ectoplasm Switched On Volume 2. Which there's like 5 volumes of this. These are like Stereolab B-sides. But here's the crazy thing, is that this has the song that you learned about Stereolab from when you saw High Fidelity for the first time. It's in the soundtrack, that Le, la, le, lim, je crois. You know this song. Let's not act like you don't know this song. Such a good vibe. And it's called Low Boob Oscillator, I think is the name of that song. Anyway, I could look it up. Yeah, Low Boob Oscillator is on this album. And I learned about Stereolab in the exact same way, but then I branched out and I listened to like Dots and Loops and stuff, and Emperor Tomato Ketchup. There's really good Stereolab, and I really like them. And so Thank you. Like, sometimes people are embarrassed to be like, I learned about a song from a very popular movie. But it's like, you know what? It's okay. Somebody put together that soundtrack and they did a really good job because they grabbed a deep Stereolab cut and made us all fall in love with it. You know, it's like that scene in the movie where he's like, I will now sell 3 EPs by the Beta Band, which I already knew about the Beta Band at that point, but I didn't have a copy of the 3 EPs, and I'll be damned if I didn't go out and buy it after that movie came out. True story. Anyway, yeah, Little Giant. Gotta give me some progressive rock. I did not have any, or Gentle Giant. I'm gonna say Little Giant. Yeah, I'm smart. I can read. I'm an adult. I teach English for a living. Did you know that? I have a master's degree in being able to read and stuff. Anyway, Gentle Giant. I didn't have any of their albums, and so I was like, yeah, I love progressive rock. And so, like, you know, I just have to have things like that. Okay, the Disappointment. Bought this record on speculation. Very rarely do I buy things on speculation and am not pleased because my tastes are very broad, as you might be able to tell, because I'm like, oh, and here's like little indie French poppy stuff, and here's, progressive rock, and I've talked about, pop punk, and I've talked about like country and stuff. Like, yeah, my tastes are very varied. So, like, there's a decent likelihood that I'm gonna like a lot of things, which I do, and that's fine. But this Mamma Jamma, Fuzzbox, the band, we've got a Fuzzbox and we're gonna use it. Except they freaking don't. Like, you see this cover and you're like, oh my god, it's a girl. Like, I love female fronted rock bands from the 90s. I love them. I cannot get enough of them. Like Veruca Salt type bands, Letters to Cleo type bands. I cannot get enough of them. I found one the other day called Astro Puppies, which I'd never heard of, and they have a terrible name, and they spell it in the dumbest way, but they are so delightful. And I just discovered them the other day. And so, like, I'm always on the lookout for good, like, 90s girl-fronted bands. This looks a little more 80s. And indeed it is. When did this come out? 86. And here's the problem, is that, like, you look at the front cover. We've got a Fuzzbox that we're going to use it. Girls on the cover. Cool. You go to the back. Love is the Slug, first track. And you're like, oh, that's like Roxy Music's Love is the Drug, like, which I love Roxy Music. Ooh, especially that album. It has the greatest picture of Brian, the name of the album is Pleasure, something Pleasure. It's the one with the woman dressed in black at night walking a panther. It's a very black album cover. And you flip it over and there are these individual pictures of the band. And it has the greatest picture of Brian Eno ever taken. I should make that picture appear on top of my finger now. The greatest picture of Brian Eno ever taken, back when he had hair. So, like, Love is the Drug. I'm like, yeah, absolutely. Wait and See, Jackie, Spirit in the Sky, a cover, but like a good song. XX Sex. Okay, interesting. Alive, What's the Point? You Got Me. Is that going to be, like, are we going to get a cover there as well? Doesn't have a star next to it, so I'm guessing not. Hollow Girl, Console Me, Rules and Regulations, Preconceptions. But, like, yeah, it just, all of the song titles, all of the cover art, came out on Geffen, and just like my expectation could not have been like more solidly, like, I think based on the cover that I know what this sounds like. Womp womp is what it actually sounds like. I don't sell a lot of records back, but anyway, I will not be able to say this album title. This Rob Zombie, what is it? The Lunar Injection Kool Aid Eclipse Conspiracy. Yeah. And it's written in like psychedelic font, so all the C's look like P's. So yeah, it's kind of hard to read. But yeah, this was $20. Which I've never had any Rob Zombie anything, but this is on Pachow. Like, yeah, totally. That's about right. Like, love me some Rob Zombie. In case you couldn't tell, this next one, I went to go see Roger Clyne in concert. You know Roger Clyne because he wrote the theme song to King of the Hill. Which you're like, wait, isn't that by the Refreshments? Yes, Roger Clyne was the lead singer of the Refreshments, and he is the Bruce Springsteen of Arizona. Like, he captures the essence of the Arizona experience. I'm curious to know, who's your Bruce Springsteen? Like, if you are listening to this and you live elsewhere, who's your Bruce Springsteen? Because like, I love our Bruce Springsteen. He means a ton to me. And going and seeing him in concert for the first time in like 15 years, something like that. I'd seen him many times before, but like, once I got married and whatnot, and was living in small towns, it was hard to make it to shows. So it's a long drive, and I got obligations and kids and all that stuff. So I didn't go to a lot of concerts before. That's a change. I'm going to go to more concerts now. But anyway, this guy who opened for Roger Clyne, I was so intending to not like him because the dude's name is Johnny Zapp, and he's like, yeah, old time fucking rock and roll, straightforward, yeah, rocky rock, like just rock it, classic style. Um, and yeah, you can see maybe it's very like he'd signed it with a silver pen that was running out of ink. Anyway, but this guy, he comes out looking like uh Get Sharp era Joe Jackson. Like, for real. Except like shirt open to the belly button, like coming out and just like crushes it. And they played a cover of a Makers song called Are You on the Inside or the Outside of Your Pants? And it's a really good song. It's got a silly title, but it's a really, really solid song. And the Makers are an excellent garage rock band. And the minute they played that song, I was like, oh, these guys get it. Like, no, no, no. I see what they're doing. Like, I am enjoying this. And I turned to my wife who was there, and I was like, this guy just moved some merchandise. And so, like, after he got done playing, I ran up to the merch table, and like he came out uh after like because I had to wait in line a little bit because there were other people at the merch table. And so by the time I got up there to buy the record, he came out and to stand by the merch table, and we chatted about the Makers and stuff, and like old time rock and roll records. And then this lady walked up to him that we could tell that like she was interested in him for other reasons. and he was interested in her for the same reasons. And here I was like, well, the record that came from, actually, well, you know, the lead singer of that band went on to, like, you know, I had to like be like, well, thank you, good sir. Appreciate the signature. I will treat it with kindness. Yes, thank you. Um, like, such a dork. So yeah, Johnny Zapp, not only did he move merch, but he moved some other things as well. Anyway, ooh, I gotta take that off. This has a security tag on the back. I did buy it. This is deactivated. But yeah, I bought this new because it is Songs of Pain by Daniel Johnston. It's his first album, and it has the song of his that I love the most, which is Wicked World. We are the Wicked World. March into Hell. Like, I love that song so much, and I love, like, if you've never heard Daniel Johnston, like, he's a different type of music altogether because he recorded on these scritchy, scratchy cassette tapes, and he just would like lay down his emotions in bursts, you know, and but like he could replicate them, you know, and did. So it wasn't like they weren't fully formed songs, but they're structured so uniquely. It's like people call it outsider music. Like he knows how to play his instrument. Like he clearly can and indeed does. If you go deep into his tapes, like he plays a cover song or two that are like fairly adequately played. I mean, better than I could. And so it's not like he didn't know his instrument and whatnot, but like there's this charmingly amateurish nature to his music. But like he, more than any human who has ever lived, is able to channel the exact emotion of what it feels like to love someone and not have them love you back. And so if you've ever like felt that way, like, and want to hear music from a guy who lived his entire life that way, oh man, it might be a little too close to the bone at times, but like, my God, nobody like Daniel Johnston. Like, you got to prepare your heart, mind, and soul. Speaking of prepare your heart, mind, and soul, the greatest tenor who has ever lived, Jussi Bjorling. See, I told you my musical tastes are quite wide, but when it comes to operatic tenors, this man was the greatest ever. Because look, we all know Luciano Pavarotti had a ton of talent, but he was kind of lazy, kind of just like laid back on his natural talent. His pronunciation's kind of sloppy at times. Say many people who understand the pronunciations, but I don't necessarily. But I can hear in Pavarotti's singing that there's a little something like just not quite there. That Domingo is better. Like Domingo is my number 2 all time, because like he never quit on improving his technique and his mastery of his own voice. But like Jussi Bjorling had both an incredible talent and an amazing work ethic that he just like put his heart and soul into this music. And if you don't like opera, listen to Jussi Bjorling singing Nessun Dorma, which is a song from an unfinished symphony that is the greatest test of an operatic tenor, because you have to hit with great passion and great efficacy, a very high note that is like difficult to hit for even the most talented of tenors. Like, there are compilations of people messing it up on YouTube, and there are complications of people doing it well. I finally got around to buying this because, like, it's excellent. I know that it went from being like one of the most underrated things ever to, like, after everybody saw the documentary, uh was it Looking for Sugar Man, Searching for Sugar Man, something of the sort, something about Sugar Man, because Sugar Man is the big single off of, well, no, is this, yeah, no, track one, because he has a second album that might have Sugar Man in the title. I forget. I don't have his second album. I have his first album that has the song that really sparked the documentary, which really sparked a resurgence of interest, or a beginning of interest in Rodriguez. But, like, yeah, it's become like too much of a thing, to the point where I kind of resisted for a little bit, where I was like, now everybody knows. Um, which I hate that there's any part of me that's like, I can't enjoy things if too many people enjoy them. Like, I thought I was over that, so I just got over myself and I bought a copy, and it's good. Ooh, I'm gonna need to set that one aside. I'm gonna put it right here. Because, yeah, there's another one that goes with it that I'm not gonna get to uh, for a minute. Anyway, this was very exciting to me because my local record store carries stuff by Heavy Psych Sounds. Heavy Psych Sounds is an Italian doom metal label. Yeah. And they have every good and indeed great doom metal band in Europe on their label. This is Geezer. There we go. I'm watching myself, and so up is down and left is right. Um, this is Geezer, and it is some like heavy doom stoner type metals, and it's really good. But, like, this is the limited edition colored version of it, which normally is very expensive and very expensive to get to the United States for me if I'm shipping it myself. But because this is, vinyl distributor to the record store, I found this on the shelf and was like, oh, you guys have, and so there are a couple other records in there that I'm going to pick up one at a time because I can't buy too many at once, because they are still not too incredibly well priced or low priced for me to, like, pick them all up at once or anything. Like, I couldn't. I shouldn't. There should be paychecks in between. Anyway, this, like, just reminded me of the Baker Gurvitz Army. And this is the Graeme Edge Band featuring Adrian Gurvitz. And yeah, Baker Gurvitz Army is a 1970s hard rock band, and you can tell by the artwork that is very much paint this on the side of a van, that it's definitely of a time, of a place, of an era. And if you played D&D, boy howdy, get you some of this in your life. Oh, and then you got the whole, like, ooh, cryptical and mystical. Man, I loved so many things about that era. Oh, I forgot that I got this album. Oh, man, you talk about a pickup. Margo, Guryan, Take a Picture. This is one of the greatest pop albums ever made. Like, I had the Kinks Village Green Preservation Society earlier that I pointed at, and that's my favorite Kinks album. Um, and I tend to love the more poppy type era stuff. I do love some good like just poppy songs, like short, punchy, to the point, like turns a tight phrase and like has a sharp hook that just drags you in, like because I also enjoy like massively long jam explorations, like all right, Trey Anastasio, it's your time to take a solo. Because I also purchased a live Fish album. It's one of their big shows. It's not Magna Ball. I can't think which one it is. But I bought it on CD. It's a multi-disc. Like, this is one of the key Fish shows. And it is. And I love that kind of stuff too. But my true love, my first love, this, like, if you go back to when I was a kid, the song that really influenced me in my musical taste more than anything was Crimson and Clover by Tommy James and the Shondells. That song spoke to my soul. And this is like an entire album of songs that good. Like, because Tommy James and the Shondells only has like one other song that's like really, really that level of good. The others are like, oh, that's pretty good, Tommy James. That's, decent song, solid cut, But like, when you're talking about things that move me on an almost spiritual level because of the magic of music, we're talking like this woman and this album. Like, because when I picked it up, I had to, like, I think I sold a copy to the store clerk, where he's now going to have to look it up, because reasons. Because I told him what it was, and he's like, that sounds amazing. And I was like, yeah, because it is, because it's one of the best things that's ever happened. I was so happy that I found this. This is how dumb this is. Okay, so this band, the Strawberry Jam, I got 2 of their albums at Bookman's, and they were priced to sell because even though they were newer albums that you could tell had only come out in the last couple of years, they were like pretty cheap. And I was like, this looks very psychedelic. I'm going to get it. Their other 2 albums. And I bought both of their albums on the same day. I think I bought one and then I listened to it and then I went back and got the other one. Because I was like, oh, it's the exact right kind of psychedelic rock. And yeah, the Strawberry Jam is the name of the band, which like is solid band name, my guy. Ooh. The record almost came out there. Anyway, re-examine my life after this. Anyway, so, yeah, this is John's Children. This is one of their albums, and it's like, I was just looking because I was like, what else does this band have? Because they're amazing. I really like them. And they were like, oh, they have this other album that you should go look for. And I went to Zia's with the intention of like, they're probably not going to have it, but I'm going to look for it anyway. And I looked for, I looked for this album specifically and found it and was like, what? And it was cheap. And I was like, why does nobody else like this band? Like, because all of these records, fairly recent, and I am buying them used. Like, what is going on there? shoot, I'm getting too many records that I'm setting aside to like be part of sets. I should have been more intentional in my putting things together. Jets to Brazil, Orange Rhyming Dictionary. I started thinking about like if there are records that I were to have from like musical eras of my past, what are those records? What are my like essential records that like were really big turning points for me? And this Mamma Jamma, big turning point for me. This and Built to Spill's There's Nothing Wrong with Love. Is that the name of the album? Is like the yellow wood grainy CD. Anyway, regardless. Jets to Brazil's Orange Rhyming Dictionary, which, yes, this is, what's his name? Schwarzenbach from Jawbreaker. This is his post-Jawbreaker band. So if you like Jawbreaker, which you should, because Jawbreaker, like every album they came out with was just excellent, groundbreaking, earth-shattering. Jets to Brazil is less earth-shattering, but very like it's a comfy old flannel of a record, and it fits just right, and I love it, love it, love it. This next one, the first time I heard this band or saw them, I saw them on YouTube, and I was like, what is this? It was like, are these white people doing cultural appropriation? Because then you look at the album cover and you're like, are they like pretending to be African? Because I don't know if I'm okay with the band of Swedish people pretending to be African. But they're not. They're like creating a new idea for what world music can be. Creating a new identity for like, let's get psychedelic in the world musics and have it be influenced from everywhere. You know, South and Central America and Africa, Asia, and all over the world, and, you know, even European folk songs and all the things is blended all into one pot, and have two girls dressed like weird hippie white, but did a summer study abroad in Africa looking girls who are the lead singers, and they like belt out some psychedelic madness. It's crazy. It's a crazy record. But when you come to realize that like what they're doing is not like cultural appropriation, it's like a celebration of like this wild blue spinning marble that we live on, I'm like, oh bro, you did it right. You did it exactly right. And so yeah, the name of the band is Goat. Medicine is the album. That's their newest one. They had several, but I only learned about them recently, and that is a really good one. I don't know what this is. This is Goose. This is Autumn Crossing. So it's a Goose album. I love Goose. Like, they just lost Ben Atkin, their drummer, under circumstances that nobody understands. I have watched and listened to jam band podcasts, which I do not do. But like, Goose has become a band that has meant so much to me. I have watched so many Goose shows because God bless them. They put them on the internet in their entirety, and you can just like get some. And like, they are quickly becoming like, it started out and people were like, oh, they're doing a cool thing. I can get on board with this vibe. And then like the pandemic hit and they just like started honing their craft, and they turned into like, they are they are the heir apparent to the fish throne. Like, everybody's saying it. If they haven't said it yet, you have to accept it. This is fact. Like, look, I don't know who else you're into. Humphreys McGee, freaking Widespread Panic, String Cheese Incident. Yeah, like, I don't know what else you're into jam band wise, and all of those bands that I just listed. Mo, I like Mo more than most. True story. Well, I like Mo's studio albums more than most. Because most people prefer only their live shows. But whatever. Regardless, like, this is a Goose album. It is hand numbered 3,800. And I don't know if that means this is number 3,800 or there are only 3,800 in existence. But I bought this, and I'm realizing right now we're going to find out, because I don't know what is on this. We're going to have to be very careful because it is brand new, essentially, but I bought it used because it's not shrink wrapped or anything, and that's not one of my sleeves. Okay. Travelers, Elmeg the Wise. Huh. Recorded at Isacon, Woodstock, New York. It's got all our friends. Yeah. Back when Ben Atkin was in the band. So, yeah. That's some Goose. And a Goose release that I did not know what it was. I had no idea what was on it, but I was like, it's Goose, it's vinyl, and it is, oh, and this is 180 gram etched vinyl. Good stuff. And yeah, I did not pay too much for this. But I did not, until this very moment, even know what was on here, but I knew it was going to be excellent because I love this band. Because they've been an integral part of my life over the past 2 years, really. No, it's been longer than that. 4 years, because I got into them over the pandemic, just like everybody else. Not everybody else. Some people were smarter than that. Mothers live at Fillmore East. I've been picking up all the Zappa that I can get my hands on, because yeah, you got to. It's getting more expensive. It's getting harder to find. And this Manajima was $10. So that's what I'm talking about. That is what I'm talking about. Another $4 record, Herbie Man and his Memphis Underground. That's a Bookman's price tag that I need to get off with some Gugon. But yeah, picture of the band, and like, yeah, you see some serious musicians laying down some serious grooves. Cause man, Herbie Man, flautist, jazz flautist, which, like, the very idea of that was a joke in Anchorman. Like, we all know it was a joke. The whole idea that, like, oh, I'm a jazz flautist. Like, anyway. But yeah, like, Herbie Man, like, he's a jazz fusion flautist, and he is incredible. So, like, back off, because I will tell you something. Like, if you watch those the ones where they take a hip-hop DJ and they blindfold him, Record Roulette, that series, which if you've never watched it, there are some really good ones that you would want to see. Oh man. Anyway, LPs is excellent, for example. Uh, but he gets some crap records and he has to make do, uh, and he does because he's incredible. But like, there was someone who got this Herbie Mann record, this exact same one, and it's a jam. The guy, when he heard it, he's like, "Oh, I can use this. This is a funky groove right here," and it's like, yeah. Uh, and he kept listening to tracks on it. He's like, yeah, every track on this is usable as a hip hop sample. So just think about that. If you're ever like, who's gonna listen to this crappy jazz fusion flute man, Herbie Man, because he's also the one that has one of the most infamous covers of the 70s, that orange cutaway that like, hey. I should make that image appear over my finger now. I'm doing myself no favors in the edit bay. Anyway, yeah, next up, and I need to wrap this up because we're getting to a stupid timestamp. Watermelon, female fronted band, garagey, rocky, smart, punky, good stuff. Oh, remember back when emo was like an outgrowth of hardcore and not an outgrowth of pop punk, you know? Because everybody makes fun of the "tonight will be the night that I will fall for you," which, like, that's just a bastardized Drive Through Records voice. Because after Newfound Glory made it big, then every band on Drive Through Records had a singer who sounded like that. And a lot of those bands made a lot of great songs that I really enjoyed. And unironically have spent some time recently listening to, because the summertime is for punks. Like, you listen to punk in the summertime and you listen to hot soul in the summertime. Like, you pull out them Sam Cooke records, you pull out them Otis Redding records, and then you pull out them like punk records. That's what you listen to. Anyway, but yeah, back in the day when emo was like not a laughing stock of a genre, Captain Jazz, yeah, an alphabetology, an alphabetapology, an alphabetapology. There, I said it. Yeah, good luck remembering how to say the name of this record. But like, Captain Jazz only has one album. This is it. It is a double album, and I finally own it on vinyl, and I'm very happy. This was a Christmas present. Because somebody was like, "What do you want?" And I was like, "I would like for you to get me Captain Jazz on vinyl." And they were like, "That's very specific." And I was like, "You asked what I wanted? I have told you what I want." So, also for Christmas, because we're toward the back of the stack and we're getting into things I purchased a while ago, Pachow, Can, Tago Repress, and yeah, my in-laws bought this for me because they gave me a gift card for Christmas. And I used it accordingly. And when this record came and one other very similar came, I showed my wife and I was like, "Your parents bought me Krautrock for Christmas." I already had these on CD, but yeah, I just had to. This is my favorite Can album. The drumming on this album, oh my God, you've never heard anything like the drumming on this album. I'm telling you, like, it's, yeah. And like, I played that album when my wife and I were painting our house and getting it ready to sell so that we could move here. I was playing that album like summertime last year as we were selling our house, and like my wife hated it. Said it sounded like a cacophony. Oh, prepare yourself for a very swift change in gears. Taylor's version of 1989. Look, Ryan Adams did a full album cover of this album, unironically. So you could tell me what you think, be all high and mighty, like, oh, she's so popular right now and it's kind of blah, blah, blah. Somebody's buying them records. I'm buying them records. I don't mind saying so. Jack Antonoff writes a damn good pop song, and Taylor Swift is an incredible performer, like a generationally good performer. So feel about her however you want, but like it is her world and we are living in it. And like I don't mind saying so because I see what it is. I see what it is and I call it like it be. Anyway, yeah, this album, Bob James and Earl Klugh, it's One on One, yeah, is the name of this album. My dad listened to Earl Klugh when I was growing up, and I discovered Bob James in college because of an album. Oh, what's the name of that album? It's the one with Nightcrawler. You want to hear a good modern jazz tune? You want to hear something inventive and interesting and like that's, you know, not like every bit of like smooth jazz. You're listening to the smooth jazz station, you know, and like Kenny G, like me 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 me, like blah, yeah, heard it and like whatever. Actually, the Kenny G song isn't bad. He's more talented than most people give him credit for, but like I got overplayed, and it's very like of an era, the production value and whatnot. Anyway, but this right here is some really, really good jazz. Earl Klugh is a fantastical jazz guitarist. My father's favorite, Bob James, is a jazz pianist, one of my favorites. And this album, I purchased this, and then I got my dad sitting in this very chair. I had just gotten my receivers repaired, and I turned it on, and I put this record on, and there's an identical chair to this one right there. And they both swivel, so we're like swiveled facing each other, sitting more or less in the sweet spot of the speakers. And my dad just like loved this. And it was the first time that I've ever gotten my dad to sit down and listen to what I have collected in this equipment that I have been collecting. This is like the past 30 years of my life has been like collecting this stuff meticulously and very intentionally and putting together something that I'm very proud of. And this was the first record that I ever put on that he was like, oh, this sounds really good. And I was like, yeah. And he just sat in this chair and was like, just letting it like, And I was like, oh my God, my dad's getting it. Like, he understands. And it was like a beautiful father-son moment that was earned by this record. So, yeah. My dad was just in the hospital. He had another blood clot in his lung, which is the thing that nearly killed him. And the reason we made them move so that they live closer to an actual hospital is the town I grew up in is an hour away from the closest hospital because I grew up in small town middle of nowheresville. Anyway, but yeah, like this was a connection, and because that was true, I had to go get the next one because this is two of a kind. This is the second Bob James Earl Klugh album, and so next time my dad's over, I'll be like, this is the second one. I didn't even know there was a second one. I just saw this sitting in the front of the rack. $4.99. Need to take that off of there. These actually come off really easily. I always appreciate it when a record store makes sure they get labels that do not damage the record covers, because my God. Anyway, I need to sleeve this up. I'll do that in a minute. But like, yeah, I'm really excited for my dad to come over and we can listen to this record. So, what my dad and I will not be listening to when he comes over, is the Silver Apples. It's all reflective. Everything about this album is reflective. It's very shiny. So yeah, it was just trying, like, you could look at the side of my face. I could talk to you at two different angles. Anyway, but like, yeah, this is some psychedelic electronic. It sounds like stuff. It sounds like Olivia Tremor Control, like it sounds like the kind of indie electronic stuff that we were getting finally in the early 2000s. This came out in like 1968. The Silver Apples. And so it's like, oh, you guys were 40 years ahead of your time. Like, it took us 40 years to like figure out that what you were doing back in 1968 was a jam. Like, sorry about you not having a more storied career, because like people, there are recordings of people getting it in a live setting. Like, you can go on YouTube, you can watch Silver Apples live footage, which is crazy, but I think they were playing for Germans. I think they were playing for a krautrock crowd who like got it. But in America, I don't know that as many people got it. Like, I don't think we did. Last but not least, this is the final record, and sorry that this took so long, but like, this has been a long time since I've talked about my records, so whatever. Boom, Delvin Lamar, Oregon Trio, live at KEXP. I love live at KEXP, like, stuff. They have had so many good things. That's how I learned about King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard, because they've been on there like 37 times, or every time they release an album, so every 10 minutes. They're a very prolific band and excellent, and genre means nothing to them. Like, if you told me tomorrow, you're like, hey, there's a new King Gizzard album, and I'd be like, oh, sweet, what is it this time? And you'd be like, old school hip hop. They all learn scratching, and, a couple of them learned to lock and pop. I would be like, that sounds about right. Like, genre means nothing to those boys. Like, they do as they please, and I love it. I can't get enough of it. But Delvin Lamar organ trio, like, this is some hot licks. You want to hear Hammond organ being played at its absolute best, like, whew, just hot stuff. And guitar licks like you wouldn't believe, and like solid banging on the skins. Like, just every piece of this trio is like masters of their instrument, and they're just laying down some hot R&B. Like, it's like freaking Booker T all over again, which if you don't love your Booker T, what have you been doing with your life? Like, Green Onions. Go listen to Green Onions right now, and you'll be like, first of all, I didn't know what this song was called. Second of all, this is 1,000% my jam. Maybe you did know what the song was called. Kudos to you if you did. But like, Green Onions by Booker T and the MGs is a song that everyone innately knows because it is one of the stone cold grooves of all time. And this is like that kind of a vibe. And I put it on for my dad, and he enjoyed this too. It was really nice. He actually fell asleep to this, which my dad falls asleep when he is enjoying what it is, like a good book, a nice album, like, and he'll just, this, because it was in this very chair, he'll just hands on his chest like this, just mouth open, hands on chest. This is my dad napping. Anyway, yeah, minus the beard, and you're practically there. We unfortunately look related. But anyway, yeah, them's my pickups. I got me some winners. I'm very happy living in a place where I can get good records. But I'm not gonna buy as many in the future. I'm gonna try and cut back a little bit because I'm both running out of space and like, I can't just be buying new records all the time. Like, gotta, yeah, not be buying new records all the time because I I have other hobbies and stuff that also have expenses, and I need to like enjoy the things I have before I go acquiring too many new ones. Got to be in that phase. And so maybe I'll do some album reviews, which would be a good idea. And yeah, some other things. I've got other stuff coming up on this channel because I have other passions that I'm going to explore on this very channel. Anyway, if you made it all the way to the end, my God, what is your life? Holy Moses. But if you did, thank you. And yeah, love music. It's so beautiful, amazing, and like a magic trick that never stops being incredible. So anyway, that's going to do it for this one, people. I will see you in the next one. Okay, bye.